Yeah, it's cool. It's funny what kind of people are attracted to. I'm just trying to keep the main thing. The main thing is that's basketball, trying to win games.
Go be the hardest worker. Don't let anyone outwork you, but also enjoy it. Like you work your tail off, so when it's time to play a game, go laugh, go smile, go yell if you want to, go be passionate. Let's be crystal clear about what just happened, because this is not a roster move, it is not a signing, and it is not a minor piece of off-season business. What the Indiana Fever just did is a declaration of war on every single franchise in the WNBA. Sophie Cunningham is back. Caitlin Clark's enforcer, her protector, her ride-or-die teammate, is officially rejoining the Fever. And for every comment section warrior looking for something to screenshot and save, here it is on the record. This roster is not built for the playoffs. It is not built for a nice little semi-final appearance and a feel-good story. This roster is built to put a banner in the rafters of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And the Indiana Fever just broke this league wide open while nobody was paying close enough attention. The timing of all of this is absolutely perfect. And you need to understand the context of where this sits in the broader off-season picture. The WNBA just finalized its free agency schedule. The negotiation window had opened on Wednesday. Teams could officially begin signing players on Saturday, and the Fever had already made their early moves. They locked in Kelsey Mitchell with a core qualifying offer and slapped a restricted qualifying offer on Lexi Hull, essentially making it clear that their core was not going anywhere. But there was one massive question still hanging over everything, tying to the single most important off-season decision this franchise had to make. Is Sophie Cunningham coming back? The answer, for anyone who doubted it, is yes. And every general manager, every head coach, every player in this league should feel that answer somewhere deep in their chest. Because the Indiana Fever with Sophie Cunningham are a fundamentally different team than without her. Before getting into the basketball, it is important to talk about why this particular signing means something beyond the box score, beyond the analytics, beyond any statistic you could possibly generate. Because Sophie Cunningham is not just a rotation piece. Sophie Cunningham is a culture. She is a mentality. She is the physical embodiment of everything the Indiana Fever stand for right now, and bringing her back is not simply smart roster construction. It is a statement to every team in the league that says, clearly and without apology, we are not here to be liked. We are here to be feared. Go back to June of 2025. The Fever are playing the Connecticut Sun. Caitlin Clark gets poked in the eye by Dijonai Carrington. In end, it was not an accident. The whole league had been targeting Clark since the day she stepped onto a professional court. Teams had meetings about how to handle her, how to physically make her uncomfortable, how to remind her that the WNBA is not college. The Phoenix Mercury, Cunningham's old team before she came to Indiana, literally had locker room conversations about making Clark understand what this league really is. Cunningham knows this firsthand because she was in those rooms. She heard the game plans. She watched it happen from the other side of the fence. And then she crossed over to Clark's side, and the dynamic of the league shifted in a way that nobody fully appreciated until it was too late. When Clark got targeted, Cunningham did not file a complaint with the league office. She did not pull a referee aside for a quiet conversation. She did not wait until after the game to send a carefully worded statement or a passive-aggressive post on social media. She grabbed the opponent and put her on the floor right there on national television. Both of them got ejected. Cunningham chipped a tooth in the altercation. And she did not care, not even slightly, because that is what an enforcer does. You come for my teammate, I am coming for you. No hesitation, no questions, no apologies. That moment went viral within minutes. Cunningham's social media following exploded past 1 million overnight. She became, in a matter of hours, the most beloved teammate in the entire WNBA. And she did not earn that designation by averaging 20 points a game or winning any individual award. Yes, she earned it by showing the entire basketball world that somebody in Indiana had Caitlin Clark's back. In a league where Clark has been physically targeted since the beginning of her professional career, that kind of loyalty and that kind of toughness carries enormous weight. Now, every villain in this league has been put on official notice. The bodyguard is back. And she is coming back with a purpose that goes beyond anything she showed in her first stint, music, with this team. Here is what people consistently get wrong about Sophie Cunningham. and it represents a fundamental failure of analysis at almost every level of sports media. They see the viral clips, they see the ejections, they see the fire and the attitude and the competitive edge, and they reduce her to a footnote, a personality, a storyline. That is lazy thinking. Yes, Sophie Cunningham can actually play basketball at a high level, and the numbers from last season before her injury prove it. She averaged 8.6 points per game while shooting an efficient 46.9% from the field. She knocked down 1.7 three-pointers per game. She pulled down 3.5 rebounds. She contributed 1.2 assists and 1 steal per game while logging 25 minutes a night as a starter and serving as the team's primary wing defender. She did all of this while simultaneously being the emotional heartbeat of the franchise, the player who sets the tone in warm-ups, the player who lifts everyone around her in the moments when games are slipping away. But the numbers still do not capture the real value she brings to a lineup. Her true value lives in what she does to opposing teams' game plans. And this is where the serious analysis begins. Now, when Cunningham is on the court, opposing players cannot simply hack Caitlin Clark without expecting consequences. They cannot grab her jersey in traffic. They cannot throw cheap shots in transition or push her off her spots on the perimeter, because every single player on the other team knows that number 8 is standing right there watching everything, and she is not afraid to respond in ways that raise the emotional stakes of the entire game. That psychological impact is worth more than 10 points per game in any honest accounting of her contribution. It changes the energy of the game from the opening tip. It gives Clark the freedom to operate without constantly looking over her shoulder. It gives Kelsey Mitchell room to work without constantly having to worry about physical intimidation. Or it gives the entire roster a sense of collective safety that simply cannot be quantified on any spreadsheet. Music. And here is something that almost nobody is talking about when they discuss this signing. Last season, the Fever made their incredible playoff run without Sophie Cunningham. She tore her MCL in August after Bria Hartley fell into her leg during a game against the Sun. And just like that, her season was finished. She sat on the bench in street clothes for every remaining game, cheering and yelling and coaching from the sideline while her teammates fought through the postseason without her. She watched Clark sit out the entire playoffs because of injury. She watched Kelsey Mitchell get carried off the court in Game 5 with rhabdomyolysis. She could not do a single thing about any of it except be there emotionally or supporting from a distance, unable to contribute in the way she had trained her whole life to contribute. Now, imagine all of that pain compressed into one off-season. Imagine all of that frustration, all of those months of rehab and quiet mornings in the training room. All of those nights wondering whether her knee would ever feel right again, whether she would ever get back to the level she had been playing at. She has had months to sit with that experience, and now she is coming back healthy, motivated, and carrying a chip on her shoulder the size of the entire state of Indiana. Anyone who thinks Sophie Cunningham is returning to this team to play casual basketball, to collect a paycheck, to average a respectable 8 points and call it a year, has not been paying attention to who this woman is. And now, let's paint the full picture of what this roster looks like, because every general manager in the WNBA needs to see this clearly, and so does every fan who follows the game seriously. At starting point guard, you have Caitlin Clark, the most electrifying player in women's basketball, a generational passer with logo-range shooting ability, a player who averaged 16.5 points and 8.8 assists per game before injuries robbed her of the 2025 season. She played just 13 games last year. 13. And the Fever still made the semifinals. Now, she is fully healthy, fully recovered, and by every credible report from people inside the organization, she is in the best shape of her career. She spent the entire offseason in the gym, rebuilding, preparing, and by every account, she has described what is coming as her revenge season. Yes, when a player of that caliber tells you she is coming back angry, you should take that seriously. At starting shooting guard, Kelsey Mitchell is one of the most dangerous scorers in the league. She averaged 20.2 points per game last season, led the entire WNBA in three-pointers made with 111, earned first-team All-WNBA honors, and 3 All-Star selections, and then signed a Supermax deal worth $1.4 million to stay in Indiana because this is where she wants to win. She is the player who said, during the darkest stretch of the injury-plagued 2025 season, that we all we got and we all we need, and then backed it up by carrying this franchise on her back through one of the most difficult stretches any team in league history has endured. She scored 34 points in Game 1 of the semifinals against the Las Vegas Aces. She never took a night off. She played every single game when everyone around her was going down, and she is not going anywhere. At starting small forward, Sophie Cunningham brings everything already detailed and more. A 47% shooter who spaces the floor at the wing, defends at an elite level, hits clutch shots in critical moments, and makes the physical and psychological cost of attacking this team prohibitively high for any opponent. She is a Taekwondo black belt who earned her certification at 6 years old. She kicked field goals on her high school football team. She is, in every meaningful sense of the phrase, built different, and the Indiana Fever are better with her on the floor in ways that go far beyond what any conventional metric captures. At starting power forward, Aaliyah Boston is a legitimate star at every level of analysis. She is an all-star, a national champion from her time at South Carolina, and the player who hit a game-winning buzzer beater to eliminate the Atlanta Dream in the first round of the 2025 playoffs. She averaged 14-plus points and 8-plus rebounds last season. She can score in the post, facilitate from the elbow, switch defensively onto the perimeter, and anchor the paint against the best big players in the league. Under the new collective bargaining agreement, she is max eligible, and the Fever's front office has made it clear they are prepared to pay her accordingly. She is 23 years old and has already demonstrated the kind of clutch gene that cannot be taught or developed in a practice facility. And at the starting wing, Lexi Hull is the quiet backbone of a defense that overperformed its expectations all of last season. She played all 44 regular season games and all 8 playoff games. She recorded a 16-point, 10-rebound, double-double against the Las Vegas Aces in the semifinals. She is a Stanford product who goes out every single night and guards the best perimeter player on the opposing team without complaint, without fanfare, and without any expectation of recognition. The Fever put a restricted qualifying offer on her, which means they have the ability to match any offer she receives. She is staying. I'll read that lineup one more time. Clark, Mitchell, Cunningham, Boston, Hull. 5 players who have been through genuine adversity together. 5 players who have sacrificed for each other, who have sat in hospital waiting rooms while their teammates went down, who have clawed their way to the semifinals of the WNBA playoffs with half their roster, held together with improvised solutions and sheer collective willpower. And now they are all healthy, all in Indiana, and all hungry in a way that only comes from coming that close and coming up short. Talent wins games, but chemistry wins championships. And there is not a team in the WNBA right now with better internal chemistry than the Indiana Fever. Other teams have superstars. The Fever have something more difficult to build and more difficult to replicate. They have a genuine family, and families fight differently than collections of talented individuals. They fight with a kind of emotional investment that commercial rosters simply cannot manufacture. When they fight for something beyond their own individual statistics, and that distinction matters enormously when series go to 5 games and bodies are breaking down, and the margin separating winning from losing shrinks to the finest possible point. Let's address the skeptics directly because they exist in every comment section, and they deserve a real response rather than dismissal. The concern about Cunningham's knee is legitimate on its surface. She did tear her MCL in August of 2025, and that is a serious injury. Sus. But the MCL recovery timeline is significantly shorter than, and Cunningham has spent the offseason posting workout footage that shows her moving at full speed, cutting cleanly, playing with no apparent hesitation. She is not coming back at 80% capacity. She is coming back with something to prove, and players with something to prove tend to play at the absolute ceiling of their abilities. The concern about roster depth is also fair. The Fever still need a backup point guard and veteran depth pieces throughout the rotation. But the free agent market entering this offseason had over 100 players available, and the Fever have something that functions as the most powerful recruiting tool in the league right now: the opportunity to play alongside Caitlin Clark in sold-out arenas every single night. Players have been actively expressing interest in coming to Indiana. The talent will follow the culture because the culture is the most attractive thing the franchise has to offer. And yes, the Aces have Aja Wilson, the best individual player in the world. The Liberty spent aggressively to build a championship-caliber roster. When these are real competitive threats, but consider what the Fever did to Las Vegas in last year's semifinals, without Clark, without Cunningham, without several other key contributors, held together by hardship contracts and emergency roster moves. They pushed the Aces to 5 games. Vegas needed overtime in the deciding game to eliminate a Fever team that, by any objective measure, had no business being in that fight as competitive as they were. Now add Clark back, add Cunningham back, or add a full off-season of preparation. Add the growth that comes from playoff experience. Add the hunger that comes from watching everything fall apart and rebuilding with purpose. What happens when the Fever show up complete and healthy? That is not a rhetorical question.